Oh, here goes. And welcome to the 76th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V's in the house. Please, as always, follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's up, Robbie?
What's up, Wood? So it feels unusual. I've been hosting these for a couple of weeks in a row now. So I just get to kick back today and let you run the show. So looking forward to it, mate.
No problem. So, very themed jersey day today with the Nuggets, progressing through to their first ever NBA Finals, right, in their franchise's history. So why don't you take it away for us?
Nice. We've got some three pretty cool looking ones I can see today. So, all right. So I'll just do my usual double thing. You know, I've got to get through this big collection of jerseys and show two a week. So just the one I'm hanging behind me, it's a Jamal Murray blue Mile High Nuggets Nike jersey. Really like the look of that jersey, Woods. Look, honestly, I'm not going to do the whole spiel on Jamal Murray there. I feel like he's got a lot of good years to come, but obviously we'll talk a little bit more once we go through the conference finals, just how good the Canadian was against the Lakers. So he just had an amazing 4-game series there, but quite a topical one I'm wearing. It's also an interesting number as well. So I think a few people pointed out today, probably two of the greatest players ever for the Nuggets wore the same number. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there, but I'll just stand up and show you who I'm rocking today.
And for those who can't see, Robbie's wearing the classic number 15 Denver Nuggets Carmelo Anthony jersey. And as you said, very topical jersey that you're wearing today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, of course, we got the news yesterday that Melo retired there. So I really just wanted to wear this one, I guess, to pay a bit of a tribute to him. So the one I'm rocking today, very random, this one would. So it's a Carmelo Reebok Hardwood Classics Nuggets jersey. So with the old sort of logo there. I quite like this one, actually. Pretty random sort of one, this one. And as I said, a lot of people, if they see that number 15, will probably assume it's the Joker, but no, this is Carmelo. So look a little bit on Carmelo there. So as I said, he retired this week, a week before his 39th birthday. He was drafted by the Nuggets at pick 3 in the famous 2003 draft out of Syracuse after leading the team that year to the NCAA championship. Melo played with the Nuggets for 8 seasons before being traded to the Knicks. After the Knicks, he then went on to have short stints with OKC, Houston, Portland, and the Lakers. Woods, I didn't mention the Hawks there. He was actually traded to the Hawks, but didn't actually play a game for him. So there is a few random Carmelo Anthony Hawks jerseys going around, probably even more random than a Rasheed Wallace Hawks jersey. But yeah, so look, his accolades are pretty impressive there. So a number of NCAA college awards, of course. Also all-rookie first team, a 10-time All-Star, 2 All-NBA second teams, 4 All-NBA third teams. So he never quite cracked that first team there, just due to LeBron and some of those other guys playing in similar positions there. He was a scoring champ in 2013 when he was just putting up massive numbers every game there. Was named to the NBA's 75th anniversary team. And, of course, he had some great success for Team USA where he went on to win 3 Olympic gold medals there. So, yeah, just wanted to pay a bit of a tribute to, obviously, a guy that's just lighting it up right now. I'm looking forward to talk about later, Jamal Murray, and then an absolute legend of the Nuggets there in Carmelo Anthony. So, no bobbleheads for either of these two, Woods, but, yeah, I thought I'd just talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll always remember, the success he specifically had at those Olympic Games that you mentioned, right? And if you're going to remember him most fondly, would it be as a Denver Nugget or as a New York Knick?
It's a good question, isn't it? I really did enjoy those early years with the Nuggets. I quite like some of those teams he was on in that, but I guess probably he got a little bit more attention playing on those Knicks teams. I mean, I think the whole city of New York really embraced him when he arrived there. And look, they had some pretty good runs there. Never obviously reached great heights there, but only one team can win each season. But I'd probably say the Nuggets. Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, definitely. The Nuggets.
Yeah.
I used to want to get that sky blue headband, just like the one he was wearing in those early days. And what a great draft class as well, right?
You're right about the USA stuff as well. His game just seemed to really translate well to the international level. I mean, he was such a good rebounder at that level as well, and obviously such a decent scorer there. So no wonder he had so much success playing for the USA. What about yourself, Woods? I know you're rocking a random one there today, someone that's no longer with this team, but know someone you like a lot. So Woods is standing up, rocking the Bol, number 10 Nuggets jersey. So I'm assuming that was a custom one, Woods, or was that already sort of made up in the NBA store? Or was that a custom one?
I actually can't remember, to be fair, right?
Might
We
have
did
been
have
made up, maybe. Yeah.
a Minute Ball jersey on the show previously on one episode, as I recall,
Yep.
Bullets one. So, Bol, actually, his full name is Bol Minute Bol, is the son of Minute Bol, born in Khartoum, Sudan. He went to high school at Blue Valley, and then he went to a few different high schools before spending a couple of years at Oregon between 2018 and 19, and becoming the 44th pick in the second round of the 2019 NBA draft. He started off with the Denver Nuggets, where he got to play sparing minutes, spent some time in the G League, and then obviously it's at the Orlando Magic where he finally got the opportunity to play. If I recall right, he was traded to Boston for a short while, but never played. If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Let's have a look here. Yeah, he was traded to the Boston Celtics in a three-team transaction involving the San Antonio Spurs with Juancho Hernan-Gomez and Bryn Forbes, but he never actually suited up for them, and it ended up on the Magic. And he really got to show what he was capable of this year. In 70 games for the Orlando Magic, he started 33, averaged 9.1 points per game, 1.2 blocks, and 5.8 rebounds. He can work on that outside shot a little bit more, but 55% from the field, 76% from the free throw line. He's really found a niche and a role for himself in the NBA now, hasn't he?
No, you're right. I mean, how do you see his career going? Obviously, there's a lot of potential there with the athleticism and size, and like you said, he's working on that shot there. But how do you see his career going?
Well, he's a unicorn, right? What's he listed at? 7'3"? Is that?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got great handles. I mean, it's almost like there's no one else like him who has that skill set. Well, very few players that have that skill set, right? I think that he's got the tools to be successful, right? He needs to get his conditioning up a little bit, work on that outside shot. He's got that opportunity in Orlando now, and he's proved himself. So he needs to go from
still only
strength to strength.
23 as well. So I mean, he's obviously got a lot of sort of learning to do there. So yeah, I'm hoping it all turns out well for him for sure.
Definitely, and this is a classic. Let's just say a random jersey, but it's a classic one because we'll remember that he was drafted by Denver, right? Actually, now that you mentioned it, was already it wasn't a custom one; it was already ready to go at the store.
He's I guess had a bit of a cult following since his rookie year, hasn't he? Just with his surname and obviously his story there. So I'm loving how we've got the three very different sort of Nuggets jerseys. Obviously the mile high, we've got the real old school one here, and then more a current sort of one there. So loving how we've mixed it up there. Oh, and I did have one little guy to show you as well. I forgot to show that, but I thought I better pull this guy out. The big man,
Yes.
Nicola from those ads I loved last year, the Joker. So I'm loving that one there, and another different jersey as well. So yeah.
Well, we'll speak a little bit about him later, but I thought this week let's start the show with a different angle, right? There've been some great basketball movies come out lately, and I want to talk a little bit about them. We'll get into the NBA stuff and all our headlines a bit later, but I want to talk about these two movies that have come out. Okay, the two movies I'm talking about are the remake of White Man Can't Jump and Air, right? So maybe let's kick off things with White Man Can't Jump. We both watched it recently. I know you really like that movie. Obviously, the old one is a classic with Wesley and Woody Harrelson. So tell me what you thought of the remake.
So, Woods, we're doing movie reviews now on the show. I like it, man.
We are.
No, definitely. Well, look, yeah, I mean, I watched probably both of these last week. I watched White Man Can't Jump most recently. So you said, yeah, we'll start with that. So I thought it was pretty solid, I've got to say. I went in sort of not having majorly high expectations, and maybe that's what sort of worked out quite well there. Look, it was a very short movie. It was one of those ones that you could sort of easily just watch. It wasn't one of these 2 to 2.5 hour movies that a lot of these movies are these days. But I thought it was pretty decent. I thought Jack Harlow did a pretty good job. I thought he was quite likable in the end, his character there. I thought the basketball play was pretty decent. Enjoying some of those competitions they had. They went to Watts and Long Beach and other sort of places like that. And look, it wasn't a total remake, was it? It wasn't like they tried to do everything, like a carbon copy of the original movie there. Look, I think it's one of those things you always want to protect something you like there. So we were, teenagers when that first movie came out, and obviously we both enjoyed it. It's had that bit of a cult following, but I quite liked it, Woods. And if I'm giving out a review for this one, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, the reviews on IMDb say around 4 out of 10, which I think is a bit low. Yeah. I mean, I liked it. It was much more lighthearted. It didn't deal with as many serious topics as the original movie did. Yeah. I thought Jack Harlow really made that movie, right? I thought the job
decent,
that he did
wasn't
was good. I'm not sure about some of the other actors and some of the acting. I thought some of the basketball that was played in the movie left a lot to be desired, right? Some of the guys in the park, you could tell that they'd never really played basketball before, right? So,
Hey, here's a question then, Woods. Who'd win at obviously at their peaks there, a 2-on-2 game between the current pairing and the old pairing? I think the current pairing would whoop them, right?
Jack Harlow, we've seen him in the All-Star
We
games.
have, yeah.
How
we
good
know,
he's been in like celebrity games.
Apparently, Wesley Snipes is a pretty ordinary basketball
Terrible.
player by all accounts as well. Yeah.
Terrible,
So
right?
I think probably the two now will probably be a bit better. But
And you gotta remember, Wesley and Woody are now in their 60s.
oh yeah, so I don't mean now. I mean at their peak sort of thing like that. But yeah,
I definitely would give the movie a 6 out of 10. I guess the first movie probably catered to a slightly older audience, right?
Yeah, agreed,
Whereas
agreed.
Younger people, I mean, there was still some bad language and whatnot, but in the end, you could take someone younger to watch this movie.
I mean, it's streaming on Disney Plus as well, right? That sort of caters a little bit more for a younger audience. I mean, I watched a little bit with my daughter there. I don't think I would have been putting on the first movie there. There seemed to be a lot more, violence and swearing, everything like you said. But no, it was a fun watch, I guess, anyway, for me.
All right, terrific. Well, let's move on to Air, right? Really good. Me personally, I had a day off work during that Anzac long weekend, and I managed to go to Gold Class, order some nachos, a couple of sodas,
Fancy.
sit back in my reclining chair and watched it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was really good too. Actually, I mean, I didn't quite have the cinematic experience with the the nachos and the reclining chair. I just watched it on my TV at home. But I did enjoy it. I quite liked the history and everything. It was good, sort of when they were in those meeting rooms and they were trying to look at the draft class of that year, and they were talking about Terrence Stansfield and sort of some of these other guys that only the real hardcore basketball fans like us would sort of know and appreciate.
Yep.
I think there's probably a lot of people that are seeing this movie because they maybe like Nike or they like Matt Damon or Ben Affleck that are in it, sort of thing, but they're not like the basketball historians like we are. So it was good to hear some of those things there. And I thought it was good. Like I felt like I knew the story reasonably well, but and obviously I'm sure they had some license to maybe not do everything that happened there, but I thought it was really well done the way they did it. I did mention to you I thought it was a little bit strange how they didn't have a Michael Jordan actor, and obviously you had your thoughts on that. For anyone that hasn't seen it, and it's obviously no spoilers there, but there was a couple of scenes where Jordan was supposed to be in it, and they just showed the back of his head. So I guess his mum and dad played quite big parts in the movie, especially the role of his mum there. But yeah, just a few back of the head shots for MJ there. But yeah.
Well, Ben Affleck, who directed the movie, said, look, we couldn't justify anyone playing Michael Jordan, right? Rather than Michael himself. And Michael's probably too old for the role right now. So just to add a little bit more mystique to it, we wanted to get some effect from it to people to talk that, look, we can't actually see his face, but we're talking about this shoe of his, this empire that was built off the back of his name, right? So it added a little bit of more mystique to the movie. Now, I was really impressed with in fact, I saw an interview with Jackie Chan recently, and Jackie Chan said, Chris Tucker, he does Rush Hour 1. Then a few years later, he does Rush Hour 2. He talks about how Chris Tucker does very few movies. He just cashes in on the back of those movies and doesn't act very much. And we don't see him in a lot of movies. I can think of the Rush Hour series. Yeah. I can think of Friday.
Of course.
I mean, off the top of my head, can you think of any others?
He was in like Dead Presidents and a few other sort of ones like
maybe,
that.
but not many.
You're right.
Right?
He hasn't been like in a lot of sort of more modern ones. But yeah, his role was pretty good in that.
Really good. And he played a serious role in a lighthearted way, right? Which I really enjoyed. His ability to connect with Michael Jordan's parents, being the only black man in that within that organization, and able to bridge the gap between everyone. I thought that the way he played the role was good, and he was the star of the movie for me in terms of all the actors. I really enjoyed the role he played. Yeah.
So those negotiations, obviously, for Jordan to get a cut out of every one of those shoes that was sold was just genius there. But I didn't give my rating as well. What did you give a rating for that?
No, I was going to ask you that.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to give it a. I mean, look, I said a 7.5 for White Me Can't Jump. I'll give this an 8.5. So pretty. I'll
give it a 9.
Ooh, okay.
8.59. Okay, if you're going to say 8.5, I'll give it a bit more 9. For me, this is really something that I resonated with. It was well done. The storyline was great. It was factual. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd probably watch it again as well.
No, yeah, I would as well, actually. Yeah, it's the sort of movie you could sort of enjoy a second time, twice. So, look, if anyone else has got any other movie reviews or TV show reviews or anything, send them through on our socials or email there, and we'll see what we can do, right? If they're
Hey, I'm
basketball
pretty sure
related.
you got it wrong. We have done our best top five basketball movies of all time
Yeah, we did do
before
that
in
a
the
long time
past. So
ago,
we've
didn't
done
we?
it for the first time with
True, true. Okay.
gone into this space before,
All
right?
right.
So
Yeah, true. Well,
all right, all right. Well, that's great. Get out and watch the movies. One of them's available on airs available on Amazon Prime, and White Man Can
it's
Jump.
still at the cinemas as well, there as well, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, White Man Can Jump is on Disney, or if you're like Robbie, who's still downloading torrents. Actually, I need to use some torrents to download the Tupac Dear Mama documentary, so I'm going to do the same. All right, get it that way, and let us know what you think about those movies, right? And give us your thoughts. All right, so let's talk some real basketball here, man. A lot going on in the last week. We were predicting potentially for the first time ever, I think it would have been a sweep in the East and Western Conference. Right? Has it happened before? Or it's
I
happened
thought it was
once
the first
before?
time ever. I think it might have happened once in
the
like
50s.
the 50s or
In
something
the
like
50s,
that.
yes, all right.
Back when Boston was winning every year and a bit like that. But I mean, obviously the first time of this modern sort of era in our lifetime. But yeah, it's obviously not to be now.
All right, well, let's talk about the game that just finished today. Miami was 3-0 up, looking to close out this series at South Beach on their home floor. Boston put up a huge fight and stretched the game to Game 5. What were your thoughts on the game today?
I mean, it was just a pivotal third quarter, wasn't it, from Boston? I think they, at one stage, were down 9 in the third quarter, 3-0 down in Miami. It looked like it was all over them. Then they went on an 18-0 run in which Jason Tatum scored 9 of those 18 points there. It just came up huge there. I think some of the class started to shine, didn't they, for Boston in that game? Do you want to tell the viewers what the message I sent you during the end of that game, Woods?
Yeah, on all our group chats, sending me texts, this guy's like, Boston in 7, right? I'm thinking this guy's, he's crazy, man. Absolutely no chance that's happening. All right? No chance that's happening. I don't know where you're coming up with this from. Never happened in however many years.
I know, but things have got to be broken sometimes, don't they? Look, I mean, I think for Boston, they had some guys that really stepped up today. I still like to see a little bit more from Jaylen Brown, to be honest. I mean, he had 17 today. It was a little bit better. I still think he could do a little bit more there. It was good to see Horford getting a little bit more form there. Derek White and his enormous forehead had a decent game today. So, yeah, and look, obviously we saw a bit of an injury for Miami, didn't we? We saw Vincent go off with an ankle injury, so not sure how bad that is there. Thought Adebayo was really poor for them today. 10 points and 5 rebounds, minus 21 plus minus as well. So
some bad turnovers.
Yeah, there was, well. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I just sort of saw that today. I mean, look, would you clearly agree that Boston is a way better team on paper and they've had a way better season, right? So why couldn't they not win that next game in Boston at least, and then basically go to Miami and try and pinch a game 6? So anything's possible, I think.
I think they could win the next game in Boston, but I think Miami will close out in 6. I mean, you've seen what the Heat have done so far. Jimmy Butler's just put that team on his back, and they're playing like unbelievable basketball. I think that's the third loss of the playoffs only, right? So,
well, I think halfway through the third quarter, Joe Mazzulla was just getting ready to get his Centrelink applications in as well, just to try and see if he could, get some money before he found his next job. But yeah, maybe that's bought him a little bit more time.
Pretty sure there's no Centrelink in the USA, bro.
Well, I'm sure there's an equivalent to that, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, so what about Grant Williams? Actually, speaking of Coach Mazzulla, bringing Grant Williams into the game for 30 minutes today, really something that he should have done a lot earlier, right? That's been a knock on him, like. Playing a Time Lord too little and not giving Grant Williams the run he deserved. But Grant Williams today, 29-13, 29 minutes and 13 seconds on the floor. He's a plus 15, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal and a block. Really had a positive impact there, right?
He made a big difference. Obviously hit 4 3-pointers and really sort of stretched things out for him there and opened probably up things a little bit for Tatum getting to the hoop there. We saw, Tatum was equally pretty deadly from outside. But, yeah, he did make a big difference, didn't he? I don't think it quite worked on some of those early games when they were trying to match him up against Jimmy Butler. I don't know that that's quite his go there. And probably there was some poor coaching by the Celtics there trying to, play Jimmy Butler one-on-one with a guy like him. But look, I think they made a few adjustments today. You could see their confidence really lift as well, the Celtics. So, yeah, I mean, I think Miami's a pretty composed team there as well, obviously well coached and well run there. So I don't think they're going to be panicking there. But given this is the only series still going now, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this next game.
So let's talk about the series then. Really well coached by Coach Eric Spoelstra, right? In the first 3 games, Miami had it, and then that third game, obviously, Boston looked like flat, like they were dead. Massive blowout. What have you thought of Miami's play through the first 3 games? Forget about today's game, but the series before this.
Oh, no doubt they've been impressive. I mean, Butler's sort of done it every night. It always feels like someone else has stepped up. So whether it's Martin or
Vincent, Duncan Robinson, one game, yeah.
Exactly. He had a really big game. I think it might have led him in scoring in that last game there. And I think Bam Adebayo, take away today's game, he's been pretty solid in this series as well. Kyle Lowry's had his moments as well. I think it's all a matter of who can step up and help Jimmy Butler on that night. Because, Butler's pretty reliable there. He's going to go for, 25 plus sort of each game and do it on a pretty good sort of percentages there, but I think it's all about them getting that extra help there. So I think they've done a pretty good job. And as I said, they're not going to get too carried away just with one loss today.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. Game 5 coming up on Friday, our time, right?
Friday, and then hopefully we might get a weekend game. It was the first thing I thought today. Because obviously for people who don't know, the NBA finals are scheduled to start on the 2nd of June, and that won't be changed now. They've, booked, TV times, potential venues, and that. So if this series does end on Friday, there's still going to be quite a long gap there. So I'm actually glad it has been extended there. So and hopefully we get a Sunday game to watch as well.
Terrific. All right, so let's move on to the Western Conference. Lakers lose 4-0 to Denver. Although they were in every game, every game they had a chance, right? The series was a lot closer than the scoreline suggested, right? So talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on how that played out.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it will go down in history as a 4-0 sweep. The Nuggets won the 4 games. They won game 1 by 6, game 2 by 5, game 3 by 11, which was the only one that got out a little bit there, and then wrapped it up by 2 points. So what's that, 22? 24 points total for the 4-game series. So I guess it shows that it was a pretty solid series there. Look, I think the big duo from Denver were just super impressive there, Woods. I know the Joker will get all the credit, and rightfully so there, but I wanted to talk about my boy Jamal Murray behind me there, Woods. The 4 games there, right? I'll read you his stats in the 4 games just quickly there, and you can tell me what your thoughts are. So, game 1, he had 35, 5, 5, and 3 steals. Game 2, 37, 10, 5, and 4 steals. Game 3, got 37 again, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. And then that last game, 25 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. So for those counting at home, that's an average of 32.5 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, and nearly 3 steals. Also, even more impressive, Woods, he shot in the 50, 40, 90 as well there. So really impressive there. I thought his defense was really good. It's not all about sort of the steals, but you're getting 3 steals a game in these sort of big games like that was really impressive. Can we talk about who he was matched up against in that series as well? And I can sort of maybe have my last laugh on that one.
Go for it.
D'Angelo Russell, seriously, does the NBL need another point guard? That guy's trash, absolute trash. I've been saying it for ages. He really let them down in that series, Woods. He was basically unplayable in game 4. So his stats, I obviously read out Murray's before. So D'Angelo Russell in the 4 games had a total of 26 points. A total, Woods. He had 8 assists, 14 boards, and shot 32% from the field. So one player I kept on seeing on the bench for the Lakers, and I know he's been buried for a little bit now, was Beasley. I don't know why they couldn't have brought him out there. We've seen he's a guy that can get hot in a hurry there. Get him out there. I was surprised about that, but I thought that was the really sort of telling difference there, that matchup at sort of that in that backcourt position there. I think Schroeder did okay at times there, but Murray just destroyed D'Angelo Russell there.
Yeah, and look, you speak of Jamal Murray, right? He's very streaky. In the previous series we saw, he could get cold and stink it up. But this series, once he gets hot, once he gets on a roll, he's unstoppable. Almost like anything he throws up is going in. He's gone through a host of serious injuries, right? Specifically
he missed all
one
last
injury,
season, didn't he? Yeah.
Right? And for him to come back and show the form, he's a big game player, right?
Yeah.
So for him to come back and show that form is really good to see. And obviously those two are great friends. And just talk about Coach Malone and how he shortened that rotation, right? I mean, they're getting contributions from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon there, right? They've got Bruce Brown and Jeff Green pretty much. They're playing off the bench, and Michael Porter Jr. So 7 guys, right? Strong lineup that they're using. Occasionally, Chris Braun might get some minutes, but really they only played 7 guys.
He's been buried a bit, hasn't he? Yeah,
in that last game. And I mean, that's all they need. And I think Coach Malone's going to progress with this. And LeBron and AD, they were sitting in the change room afterwards and talking to each other. And they said, man, in our 4 or 5 years we've been together on this team, that's the best team we've ever played, right? They're covered in all bases. You see, Joker, man, like some of the stuff he does is just unreal.
Incredible.
He's the best player in the world. Is that fair to say?
I definitely believe so. I mean, it's a shame they, obviously they'll have a finals MVP, won't they? But in terms of the best player, I mean, it'll go down as Joel Embiid winning the MVP this year. But I don't think there'll be many arguments from anyone there. He's just the most well-rounded player, and he's just that centerpiece of a team, isn't he? Given what he can do with his assists and everything else like that, just an amazing vision the guy's got there. He hit some huge shots. He hit that big step-back shot in Game 4, which is just this off-balance force kind of shot. I wanted to mention KCP Woods.
I was about to say that, man. I was about to say that. Well, how much has he worked on his shooting, man?
Well, I heard on the Hoop Collective yesterday they were saying for the Lakers there, KCP should stand for Keep Championship Players. And I bet that's a player that the Lakers, he was part of that championship team in the bubble there. I bet they wish they still had someone like him and they wouldn't have had to rely on a bum like D'Angelo Russell and sort of, play these mixed parts. I mean, look, Austin Reeves is good for the Lakers, but they didn't just have that fourth guy all series that sort of stood up there.
KCP has gone and worked his butt off on his shooting in the offseason, putting up reps. And you can see that, right? When he catches it in rhythm, you almost think you're surprised when it doesn't go in, right? You got Michael Porter Jr. there on the wing, right? Yeah. And then Aaron Gordon's just become a better player, almost an all-star this year, And when you play with a guy like Joker, right? He makes everyone around him better. You got the veteran on the bench in Jeff Green. One of my friends texted me recently saying Jeff Green reminds me a little bit of Robert Horry in his late days. Can you see that?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. He's still playing meaningful minutes as well. But look, you mentioned Aaron Gordon. He was big as well, wasn't he? A great defender these days. He's shown that he can hit that outside shot. He seems just bigger than ever for me as well. He seems like he's just got bigger every year, Aaron Gordon. Hey, Woods, we've got to touch on LeBron as well, right? So
okay, I'm about to move on to the Lakers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say, I mean, look, a few people have sort of asked me what were your thoughts on LeBron yesterday. They kind of felt like it was maybe him making things all about him at the end of the game. Look, I mean, I don't know where that's coming from, the Jordan lovers, the LeBron haters, what it is like that. It did feel a little bit that way to me. Maybe it wasn't the time and the place for him to say that he's suddenly considering retirement and everything else like that. I mean, look, the guy's under contract next year with a player option the year after. They're both about $50 million a season. He played the whole game then. He was third team All-NBA. I mean, it just seemed a very surprising statement for him. But I guess, look, they need some news, don't they? If this series is going to finish in the East, then we need some stuff to talk about at the water cooler and everything like that. So maybe he's given everyone that, right?
LeBron's not going anywhere. He's going to play with his son in a couple of years, right? He's very emotional. In fact, just a few weeks ago in a press conference, he says, I'm going to be in this league for another 2-3 years, right? So it's just... And LeBron always does this. He drops, he has the decision. He'll have he'll say something in his press conference just to, so the media can have something to talk about because he likes it, man. Just let him be. That's just what LeBron does, right? I can't see him going anywhere. But we talk about the Lakers. What's next for the Lakers, right? I mean, they were not far off here, right? And there's talk of Kyrie Irving potentially reuniting with LeBron. Now, you put Kyrie Irving into that team. I don't care about his off-court issues. Imagine him on that team ahead of, say, the aforementioned D'Angelo Russell starting. How would that have played out, right?
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about that matchup happening there. I mean, no doubt he's an upgrade on D'Angelo Russell. Bryce Cotton probably would be as well if we're talking players that play that position. But yeah, I don't know. They've obviously had their time together. I'm not quite sure. Kyrie just seems a bit too unstable for me these days. I'm not quite sure that's what they need there, but clearly they need to get better in that position there and perhaps shore up their bench. I think Darvin Ham did a really good job this year for them. I think that's probably gone a little bit uncredited there. Considering where they were, they're under 500 for at least 2/3 of that season there. He managed to get them out of the play-in and get them to the conference finals there. So I think that they don't sort of need to be too upset. Obviously, you lose 4-0, probably maybe overthink things a little bit there. But I don't know about the Kyrie one. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think that they've played together. They've won a championship together. I mean, LeBron took that team with a bunch of misfits to the conference finals this year. Obviously with some help from AD, right? But that team on paper is not very strong. Austin Reeves played better than expected. So as you said, you get Kyrie Irving there, get a few little pieces around them, some role players that they need. Maybe keep Schroeder around, keep Hachimura around, right? Vanderbilt's another guy I don't mind, and then maybe find a few other role players that can contribute. I think D'Angelo Russell's worth $27 million or something ridiculous, right? I mean,
wow.
You got, I think so. What's next for the Lakers? You think that they're gonna be able to compete next year if LeBron comes back?
I don't see why not. I mean, you think it should be a reasonably favourable free agent destination. Maybe they could just get a veteran guard there and maybe just sort of shore up the bench a little bit there.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think they still should be in contention, definitely.
Awesome. So let's just see how it plays out. You said June 2nd for the finals, right?
That's it.
Long wait for Denver. Bit of rest and recuperation. So we'll see how that plays out over the coming days. All right. So I thought let's move on and let's talk about some topical, some things in the news right now. Some hot topics. All right. Some quick hits. All right. San Antonio with the number 1 pick. Wemby's there now for sure. There's no doubt in my mind or anyone's mind that Victor Wembanyama is going to be the number 1 pick. Did I say that right?
I think we'll call that. Yeah.
And Greg Popovich is going to have another opportunity like he did with someone like Tim Duncan to stay on with that franchise, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, Greg Popovich, a.k.a. Doc from Back to the Future, the first thing I thought about after that news of the ping pong balls was I reckon he might have had mixed feelings, to be honest. I reckon he was probably someone that was maybe looking forward to walk away from the game, but there's no way he would do that now. Obviously, this could someone that could really boost his legacy as well.
Yeah.
It was interesting, wasn't it? I've heard the usual conspiracy theorists come out and say that, is there any chance that it was fixed with those ping pong balls? I mean, we're not really going to waste any space talking about that. We don't know how that works. It sounds like they've got a pretty decent process in place. I don't think it's like the Patrick Ewing next year when there was a few maybe dodgy dealings going on there. But look, it's big news, isn't it? There's going to be so much talk of this guy now, isn't there? Summer League, I'm assuming you'll have a couple of games there. It's going to be exciting. I can imagine people buying those Spurs Wemby jerseys and, San Antonio suddenly being a team that's talked about a lot again.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. It's going to be a good draft class as well. So really looking forward to draft day coming up. Always a really fun day, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's talk about the Boomers a little bit. We spoke to Adam Bellinger last week about Matthew Dellavedova coming back to Melbourne United.
Yeah.
Recently, Coach Vickerman has come out in the press and said that he expects Delhi to make that Boomers squad. I think in our selections a few weeks ago, I had him in the 12, and you didn't.
I didn't, but I probably wasn't happy about not having him there. And probably the more I think about it, I think we might have even spoken offline. I could see Gorge definitely picking a similar team than what the Bronze in Japan. I think, obviously they had the success there. He'd probably want to keep that team going. So likely that he makes it. Look, it's good for the NBL that he's back, isn't it? And that Melbourne team, man, it's like, obviously we think our teams are normally going to be up there, Sydney and Perth. I'm not sure if Sydney realise that the free agency has actually started yet. But in terms of what Melbourne have done so far, wow. Like, having a player like that, look, if he does make the Boomers, I'd be happy with it as well, really.
And this signing with Melbourne United, that surely spells the end of Delhi's career in the NBA?
I think definitely so now, given it's a 2-year contract there. I think, look, Mike Brown obviously had that pre-existing relationship with him at Sacramento. Wanted him to come and mentor some of those younger guys, which he apparently did a pretty good job with. But I think you're definitely right. We won't see him back there.
Well, he's got his old running mate Joe Luala-Chul back as well, so there's some familiarity. Ariel Hukporti, guys, Chris Golding, guys he's played with a lot, so he's going to come back in that system familiar with the sets and things like that. So it'll make it an easy transition for him.
I think they're the early championship favourites as well, based on what they've done so far. I mean, obviously a lot of teams have still got imports to come. We're not sure what Melbourne will do in that regard, but on paper so far, wow, they look really good.
All right, so just one quick word. LeBron, is he going to retire or not?
Absolutely not.
Okay. A couple of sentences on Carmelo Anthony and the service he's given to the game.
Definitely. I mean, look, obviously I spoke about him at the start there. I mean, look, he's going to retire with scoring averages of 22.5, 6.2 boards. He played 1,260 games with, so really long career there. Ended up being the 11th all-time leading scorer there. So he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book there. I mean, look, he's obviously going to be mentioned in those, the list of great players that never won a championship. You're talking your Charles Barkley's, your Karl Malone's, your Dominic Wilkins, those sort of guys like that, Reggie Miller. He's definitely going to get put in that category there, but I don't think that was quite his fault there. He sort of got to the Lakers a year late, didn't he, in terms of being able to sort of win with them. But I'm certainly going to remember him fondly. I really enjoyed the way he played. I was sort of a little bit maybe for those first couple of years, thinking maybe this guy could be better than LeBron. I was maybe a little bit late to jump on the LeBron train there, but like the way the guy played. I like the way he persisted as well. Obviously, he was a bit unloved there, couldn't get a gig for a while, but continued to work hard and found a little bit of success at the end of his career, didn't he, on those Portland teams and everything else like that. So, yeah, no, I enjoyed his career for sure. I mean, I'm sure you did as well, right?
Absolutely. And, he's a good man, He's done a lot of work off the floor,
Yeah.
represented the country with this distinction. And we're seeing the end of an era with Melo going and LeBron on his way out. Like, it's almost those guys that we grew up with. It's coming to an end, right? When you saw Jordans and the Ewings and the Malones leave, it was almost sad to see that an era was finishing. The same things occurring here, right? I find so. Fair play to everything he's achieved, but it's also sad to see these greats that we grew up admiring leaving the game, right?
Agreed, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so let me throw over to you for a little bit of an NBL one update. I know a lot's been going on there. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about?
Obviously,
the NBL one?
Yeah. I mean, I'm loving the NBL One East. Given I sort of call the Hills games there, but I just wanted to talk about just the game of the week in the NBL One East women's competition last week, Wood. So we saw just an amazing game between Sutherland and the Sydney Comets on Sunday there. The Sydney Comets overcame a 6-point deficit at three-quarter time to end up winning by 6. It was an absolute shootout between these teams with an absolute superstar on both teams. So firstly, Sutherland, friend of the podcast, Lauren Nicholson.
Shout out
How's this for Loz? Is this line, Wood? So 43 points. 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. She played the full 40 minutes in that game, and she actually played the night before against our Hills Hornets there, and she had a triple-double in that game, in which they demolished the Hornets. They're a quality team, Sutherland there. But in that game there, the Comets were led by Shyla Hill. She also played the full 40 minutes. She just had a cool 41, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, and hit 7 3-pointers. So I encourage people to either watch the full game replay or the condensed replay there, but just really good quality basketball there. And I really think this NBL One East has improved big time this year. I mean, sort of seeing some of the quality there. I mean, that Sydney Comets team, for those playing at home, also have Vanessa Panousis and Jada Crawshaw on that team. So they're absolutely loaded with WNBL talent there. I think the women's NBL One East definitely wasn't as strong as some of the other leagues last season, but a lot of the teams here have loaded up with imports this year and sort of WNBL players and everything else like that. So yeah, just wanted to really call out that game. And also wanted to talk about this weekend, Wood. So I'm doing another game Saturday night where it's Hills against Hornsby there. So just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out from a previous guest and someone you're close with there. So Coach Hesh. So came on the show on episode 5, Woods. Doesn't that seem like a long time ago now? So,
shout out to Mahesh, my man.
Yeah, and at the time, he was sort of, doing his coaching, one-on-ones things, and obviously coaching at the school and everything. But he's now the full-time coach of the Hornsby Spiders in the NBL One East. They have been so unlucky this year. They're none from 13, Wood. So you look at that and say, geez, they're having a shocker. They lost on a buzzer beater last week against last season's grand finalists. They've also had, I think, 3 2-point losses in the last 4 or 5 games. So it's certainly a game that my Hornets won't want to take that one lightly just based on the ladder position there. But, yeah, just wanted to give a bit of a shout-out for Coach Hesh. I'm looking forward to going and having a chat with him before the game and calling that game on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I heard you've been texting back and forth with him, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I've sort of been trying to get a few little, bits of insight on some of the players there, and he's got a very young team, that Hornsby team there, but no, looking forward to see how they go.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, Robbie. And finally, I hear you're playing WNBA Fantasy Hoops this year.
I am. I actually got onto it a little bit late, Woods. It was like the night before the season started, so I didn't get a chance to, organise things like I probably would have liked to and set up a league and everything else like that. But, yeah, definitely enjoying it. I can tell you I called my team the Aussie Sheilers, which, I thought that was a pretty funny name. Got some pretty decent players. I won't bore people too much, but I've got Chelsea Gray. You know how much I like her game.
Yep.
My number 1 pick was Aja Wilson. I've got... Sammy Whitcomb on the team. I've got Courtney Vandersloot, Alana Smith. So I've loaded up with a few Aussies there. Natasha Howard, Brianna Jones, and Jewel Lloyd from Seattle there. So started off very well, looking like I might win my first matchup. So we talked about this offline. This is something we'll definitely look at setting up a league next year. I'm sure, friends of ours like Jacinta and other people like that, we'd sort of be able to get on board with this and continue to support the women's game.
You got a lot of room on your plate, man, NBL, NBA, NBL1, WNBA, man. Loving it, bro.
That's how I roll, mate.
All right, so what I'm going to do now, Robbie, is for all our viewers and listeners, you'll recall that I opened this massive 30-pack of Flair 93-94. I've only opened it slightly, and we said we'd do 10 cards at a time. So I'm just going to grab a handful. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's slightly more, maybe it's slightly less.
Yep.
And we'll go through it. Okay. I've got now New Jersey Nets forward, number 34.
Chris Morris. Nice, the backboard breaker himself. Yeah,
Yep.
Great. Check that highlight on YouTube if you haven't seen him, where he broke a backboard playing in New Jersey one time.
Well, from one number 34 to another, I got forward from the Dallas Mavericks, went to Missouri, listed at 6'10". He was the 6th pick in the first round of the 91 NBA draft.
34
Averaged 8.8 points per game in his rookie season with Dallas before increasing his scoring to 10.4. Number 34.
Not James Donaldson,
6'10".
right?
Nope.
No, he's bigger than that. I'm blanking on that one.
Doug Smith.
Doug Smith, of course. Yeah.
Okay, love this guy from the Dallas Mavericks. I had his Skybox rookie card. Number 52, went to Louisiana Tech. First round pick 8 in the 89 NBA draft from the Dallas Mavericks. Never really lived up to the hype that he had from college.
Is that Mike?
He's a forward.
No.
His surname is a color. A very plain color.
Jeez, I haven't started off too
The
well.
color of your skin.
Um,
His surname.
Yeah. I'm blanking on that one.
Randy White.
Randy White. Yeah, of course.
Okay, I was talking to Adam Bellinger last week about some of the great centers in that era, in the late 80s, mid to late 80s to mid 90s. This guy was one guy I mentioned, if you'd listened to the previous episode. First round, pick 2 in the 1988 NBA draft. Was on some great teams with the Indiana Pacers, originating from Holland.
Yeah, Rick Smits. 7'4". Is he wearing clogs in that photo, Woods, or has he just got normal shoes on? 7'4", right, as well?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, he was a great
7'4", yep.
Wow.
Okay, great point guard. New York City point guard. We've seen him commentating the final series.
Kenny Smith?
Him and Jeff Van Gundy have some great
of course.
back and forth.
Action Jackson.
Mark Jackson.
Hey, hold Mark Jackson up, Ems. Mark Jackson. This is a guy called Nikola Jokic. You should have put him on your All-NBA ballot. All right, that was good. We didn't plan that. That worked out well.
How he didn't,
Ridiculous.
I don't understand.
Take that vote away from him next year, seriously.
One of the enforcers on that team alongside Rick Smits. This guy was a beast. Like, you would not want to run into him in a dark alleyway.
Antonio Davis?
No, close.
Dale Davis.
Dale Davis.
Yeah.
Right?
It's funny, people always assume those guys were brothers. They definitely, they were brothers, but they weren't biological brothers.
No, they were just called them Davis brothers.
Exactly, yeah. But no, he was a real handy player, and sort of that player that every team needed back in the day, Dale Davis.
A few weeks ago, you showcased the jersey of Muggsy. So I said his name. It's Muggsy Bogues. So I was going to say Earl Boykins. I accidentally said Muggsy Bogues.
I reckon I would have got that one pretty quick on a few clues.
I was going to say a few weeks ago you showcased the jersey of one of the greatest little men.
Can I tell a little story about Muggsy Bogues, Woods?
Yeah, of course, man.
For those going back, there was a thing called NBA Jam Session that they brought out to a lot of the states in Australia. I'm going to say it was like in 93.
The board game?
No, it was a show they brought out. So it was at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, and basically it had all these sort of legends there, doing different sort of drills and stuff like that. Muggsy Bogues was there. He had to make a three-pointer in the drill he was doing. I reckon he might have missed 25 three-pointers in a row. I'll never forget it, right? It was some of the worst shooting I've ever seen in person. But yeah, shout out to Muggsy Bogues.
Wasn't known for his outside shot.
Nah, he wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean, 25 in a row still.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Okay, Houston Rockets, number 7, second round pick 30, Carl Herrera.
See, that makes up for me missing that one, right? When I'm getting a Houston Rockets number 7, I'm pulling out Carl Herrera, right? Venezuelan, right?
He was. I think so. I think he was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe look that up. Phoenix Suns, number 24. We talk about this guy as probably the greatest guy not in the Hall of Fame.
Tommy Chambers. Yeah.
Tom Chambers.
And Herrera was from Venezuela as well. So he was a Trinidadian-born Venezuelan basketball player.
Right, just like...
Probably like cricket too, right?
Yeah, possibly. Like Ken McClary, who was father of Trevor Ariza, played for the Sydney Kings and also Venezuelan, right?
Nice.
All right. Great show, man.
That was fun.
Really fun, you know?
That was good. And obviously, look, we'll probably go through one thing I wanted to talk about on one of these next shows, Woods. I know we did all our preseason predictions as well. So
we need to go back.
We're going to go back and maybe we can name and shame and see how off we're on some of them, see if we got any right. I have a feeling there'll probably be some shockers that we've done.
I had Miami right up there and you had Denver right up there. That's what I recall. Right?
Yeah, I think I had Denver going all the way, and I think I mentioned the Miami thing as well. I had them in the play-in, which I was right about. So, but obviously I didn't have them going this far. But we'll try and pull that out. I know I've got that on a spreadsheet somewhere, and we'll sort of own up to that. So, by this time next week when we record, who knows whether both series will be over? You probably think it's going to be over in the next game or so. But obviously we've got Game 5 on Friday. No, sorry, Game 4 on Friday. Game 5 on Friday, Game 6 on Sunday. So
correct.
We'll probably know a little bit more by this time next week how we're looking. But as we mentioned, 2nd of June there for the finals to start. So we've got a little bit of time up our sleeves there.
So why don't you take it away? Tell the audience a little bit about where we can be found and followed and all of that, right?
Sounds good, mate. So, look, I'll give all our little handles there. So on Twitter, we're at Throwbacks Hoops. Instagram, we're throwback.hoops. And our email address is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Send through some thoughts, your movie thoughts. If anyone was at that jam session thing I was talking about that went around to each city in the early 90s, let me know. If anyone saw Muggsy Bogues shooting like I saw. What about yourself, Woods? Give you a little shout-out to...
Oh, just Patreon. Thanks for everyone's support. Just jump on to Patreon, look for Throwback Hoops. You'll see the 2 microphones and the Atlanta Hawks logo. We appreciate anyone that pledges their support. You don't have to, but thank you if you do. I just also want to give a quick shout out to our friends, the Sport Blokes. All right, listen to their podcast if you haven't yet. They've got 2 great episodes. One that's currently out with Casey Frank, commentator, ex-New Zealand international. Terrific episode, and I believe they've got one of our ex-guests, Liam Santamaria, coming on their very next show. We love the Sport Blokes, the work that they do. Go on Spotify, iTunes, or whatever. Look up the Sport Blokes. Basketball is their focus, but they do talk about other sports as well, and they've got a great show. So please listen in.
Big shout out to the lads. Yeah, totally agree, mate.
All right, cool. So, any final thoughts, Robbie?
No. I mean,
who we got coming on the show? Who we got coming on the show soon?
Look, we're still negotiating with a few people. I'm going to get a bit of a Hills Hornets flavour though coming on. We're going to look at getting Sean Montague, who those might have seen there. He actually had the number 1 play in all of the NBL 1, not just the NBL 1 East last week. And I happened to be calling that game and went quite crazy on the dunk that he did there. An absolute huge facial dunk. So looking forward to Sean to get on there. He comes from New York. He's got a pretty interesting story to tell. We've got a few other ones up our sleeve as well, which we'll sort of tease in the coming week or two.
Terrific. Well, look forward to it. And until next week, when we do it all over again, it's peace out from Woody and Robbie and the Throwback Hoops crew. We're out.
Thanks, guys.